Hi everyone, Zach here, and welcome to lesson 57 in this series on developing a survival game. In this video, we'll finish out our rain system. This video and this series have been brought to you by Patreon sponsors, and you too can help this channel out. All you have to do is hit that like button down below. If you want to take your support a bit further and know when new videos come out, make sure to hit that subscribe button as well, and the notify icon. And you want to take your support a bit further, consider becoming a Patreon sponsor. Patreon sponsors get early access to these videos. Alright, open up your projects and we'll make a start. Hi everyone, and welcome back to the editor. And in today's video, we are going to actually have a rain system that we can test. So what we're going to do is go to Core, go to our particle systems, and in here we're going to right click, go to FX, and go to Niagara System. And we're going to use from new selected emitter. We are going to find our rain base. Actually, we could select all three of these, but I'm just going to select the rain base for now. I'm going to hit that one to add. Actually, you know what? I'm going to add all three. We're going to add all three in. There we go. So it should have the rain base, our impact, and our splash. Hit finish, and this will be NS Rain. Really inventive name. And now Control S, save everything, plug that into the correct window, and there are three emitters. They aren't working together in tandem yet, so let's actually take care of getting them to work together. We are going to go to our impact first. Actually, I'm going to give us a bit of space between these just because doesn't really matter, but ease of readability. So in my impact event here, I'm going to go to my source, and I'm going to change the source over to my NE rain base. Sorry, that was the right type. And I'm going to do it on my death event. So it should say emitter NE rain base event death. And actually, I'm going to go back here. I'm going to hit F2, and I'm going to rename this as my NE advanced rain. This is the one that's going to have 25% of our particles. So we're going to actually make an update in the actual emitter in a moment or two. So that's going to be on that. And what we're going to do is we're going to spawn in one, just one. And you'll notice, it's a little bit hard to see in the editor, that when it hits the ground, it actually does spawn one of these in. We're going to then go to our other event here, and we're going to do the same thing here on our death event for the NE advanced rain emitter. Let's make sure that it says, there we go. If you update the name, you have to go back and change the emitter type. I was wondering why it was hard to see because it isn't actually happening. In our event handler for the splash, we are going to do random spawn number, and our numbers here are going to be 8 for our, okay. I'm gonna put 8 in there, and then I'm gonna hit random again, and I'm gonna change this from every particle to spawned particles, and that's gonna be 2. I'm gonna go back to this emitter, and I'm also going to double check that this is spawned particles. There we go. You can see the splashes a little bit. You can see the hits as well. So we're getting both the hits and the splashes showing up. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to select my rain emitter, this little button here, I'm going to click it, and it's going to pop it open the actual emitter over here. And I'm going to go over to my initialized particles. Sorry, nope, my spawn rate, I lied to you. And I'm going to go to my user exposed. I'm going to create a float, and this is going to be called my base rain spawn rate. I am going to then select my spawn rate here, and I'm going to multiply by float. I'm going to leave this as a default of 1 in B, but the A is going to be my base rate spawn. I am going to save, which will apply it. Actually, I'm also compile, just be on the safe side. I'm gonna go here, make sure that this has been updated correctly. It has. And I am going to then take this node. I am going to take all of the thing. I'm going to Control W it. Now, unlike other things, when you Control W, it puts it off to the side. I don't want that to the side. It doesn't really matter where you place it. I want it down here just so I know where it's at. And this will be my NE base rain. And I'm going to go back to my advance on my spawn rate. I am going to change my spawn rate to 0.25, so we're getting 25%. And on my spawn rate here, I'm going to change it to 0.75. Now I realize something is spawning here because that value currently is 0. We'll change that in just a moment. I'm gonna scroll down to my generate death event, and I'm going to click that checkbox so it's grayed out. So we are no longer generating death events for the base rain, but only for our advance. I'm just gonna double check that's both advanced there. I'm gonna select my little blue system here, the NS rain system, and here is where we're going to start making our changes. So our base rate will be 10,000. So 25% of them are this one, 75% are this one. And if you want to, you can on this one change this to a GPU simulation. I am not going to because I don't want to deal with the bounding boxes. So for my colors, I'm just going to give you the hex colors. For my rain color, I am going to use 8 delta 0 and then foxtrot for the rest. For my impact color, I'm going to go a little bit darker. But again, I'm just going to give you the hex code for it. My impact will be 18232B Bravo Foxtrot Foxtrot. And then for my final one, again, I'm going to use a little bit of a lighter color on the splash, and it will be 4 Echo Bravo 6 and then all foxtrots. So we have these 3 colors. Now let's take a look at the wind direction just because we didn't get a chance to play with that earlier. Well, let's set this to 150. If you scroll out a bit, you can see now it's coming at an angle. So this will be played with by our wind. And that is our base system. We can go ahead and test this. You know, what we can do is just drag this onto the map near our player start, which is still there. I don't like how it doesn't have the capsule anymore. I kind of like the capsule thingy. All right, drag that in, and we're just gonna raise that up. If I hit play, you can see the rain. Actually, I think I may have put it a bit too high for it to, oh, it's hitting the ground. So you can see we have it highlighted here that it's hitting the ground. We're getting our little splash effects on some of them. All right, let's go ahead and delete this emitter and actually apply it to our character so that we aren't going to have to cover the entire island with the emitter. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our core character, open up our character here, and let's go to the viewport real quick. And in here, we are going to select our capsule collision. We are going to do a Niagara particle system, and we're gonna call this one rain, just so we know what it is. And for our system, we're gonna do the NS rain. And notice, hey, it starts right away. So if we hit play, just to show you, you can see it's also colliding on the player. As we move, it follows the player, and you can see that it's hitting, and we're getting the splash events and all that fun stuff. And as it happens, you can also see it's hitting. It's actually hitting the collision capsule. There are ways around this. I just can't get them. They just don't really matter for a first-person game. In a third-person game, you will want to change that. All right, let's first go down here on our emitter and find the auto activate and mark that as false. Let's compile. Let's go to our event graph. And our event graph, this is going to be a bit complex. I'm trying to decide if I want to, you know what we're going to do actually before we do that, we're going to go to our interfaces. We're actually going to create an interface that's going to have later in this series. So we're going to have to add a lot to this interface, but for now what we're going to do is just create a base interface, and we're going to call this trigger rain, and we're going to put this into a category called weather. We are going to put one input in for now, and technically we don't need this, but it's B is raining. More useful for the debugging purposes, and also for any security, not security, but any, we're gonna use it just to make sure the rain doesn't trigger by accident as well. Let's go back to our player character. And I'm gonna find a spot off to the right-hand side here, and I'm going to do trigger rain. I want the event type. All right, there we go. Just gonna put that up there. We're gonna have a lot of little things we're gonna do in this. We're gonna create a macro here for the first time though. And we're first going to do this macro, create a Boolean. And this Boolean is B is raining. To be on the safe side, we will make this private. We will put this in our category of bools. We will create a new function called set rain status. Pop this set rain already in it. Let's get our is raining. I'm going to fix the name because I just saw the typo. I often do that with the is raining for some reason. Even in my prep file, I did that all the time. All right, plug that into there, put a return node in. There we go. So we are going to set this as true or false, and then we're going to use that in our check. So what we first are going to do is we're going to create our macro out here and then collapse it down. We're going to get our set rain status, which by the way, we should put this into a category called weather. Now, technically, this, if you want to be really pedantic about encapsulation and good OOP, I should be creating a component with a weather system. I don't think that's, I think it's a bit of overkill. So we're gonna plug that into there. And then actually, I'm gonna pop this back open. We're gonna plug the set rain status, and we're gonna have that as an output with the same, actually, we're gonna change the first one to B rain condition, and I copied it, by the way, before I did that. And the output will be B is raining. I'll compile before I can do that, I guess. There we go. So rain condition, and then we're checking at the end of it is raining. We could do a get is raining node as well, or function as well, but meh. Next, I'm going to do a branch. And then just to make my life a tiny bit easier before we collapse this down, all I'm going to do is I'm going to get my rain emitter, and I'm just going to set active, and I'm going to duplicate that down here, put that into the correct thing, and just going to plug this into the false and this one into the true, move the sets to the right for a moment, and I'm going to take my 2 nodes here, I'm going to collapse them to a macro, and this will be my check rain status. And I'm going to pop this open, and here I am going to change this to raining from then and not raining on my else. And that macro is literally just so I have an easier to read sort of encapsulated function here. It's not really a function, but you know what I'm on about. And if you want to be really pedantic, this will be weather. And this should be under stats hunger system, or hunger. There we go. All right, so with that done, what we're going to do is spawn in our rain system. So we really do have the basis of it here. If it's raining, then we want this to be true. So we'll mark that as true then, and as reset, and this will be false. We'll also mark this as reset though. Actually, we're gonna delete that. We're gonna do deactivate. I think I know why I can't find active. It's activate, isn't it? Yeah, I'm gonna do activate instead of active, and we're gonna set that to true. So set active is basically a polymorph version of these 2 nodes combined together. You can set it to active or deactivate it in set active, or you could just use active and deactivate. Plug our not raining into there. And if we did this, we're gonna always get the same amount of rain. I wanna make sure that our rain in terms of the amount we're getting varies. So what I'm going to do is I am going to pull from, I'm gonna put a reroute here for now. We will be cleaning this up down the road. And I will be doing a set float parameter. All right, I'm gonna plug this into there. And I'm just going to line that back up. Line that up, line all of these up. And I'm going to go into my Niagara system here, and I'm just going to select this base spawn rate, and I'm going to control just F2, and then copy the name, go back to my player character, paste that name into there. And for testing purposes, what I'm going to do is a random float in range. And I'm going to set my minimum to 10,000. And my maximum to 100,000, which actually is a bit beefy. And if you are going that high, definitely put it on CPU, or sorry, on GPU. I'm gonna move this up here because I'm going to get rid of this. And this is for debugging only. The weather system that we'll create later in this section will set this value via the interface. So we have the interface over here. We're actually have other values coming in. That's how we are going to set this system. All right, but hey, we are at a stage where we can actually test it. So what we're gonna do is just hit play. Actually, no, we can't test it. Go over to our debugging parts here. I'm gonna move our debugger up a bit, make this a bit bigger, and start moving these off to the side. So I might want these down the road. I'm not deleting them just yet. I am going to on pressed do a trigger rain, and we will do it this way. And you know what? I'm actually going to break that just for a moment. I'm going to do a flip-flop so that when I press it the first time, it rains. When I press it the second time, it isn't raining. So when press once, is A is true. Press a second time, it's B, that is not true. So this should work, and this should take us through finally setting up our full rain system. All right, let's go to our map. Let's hit play. All right, I'm gonna hit the button now, and there is our rain. It comes on instantly. We will actually be lerping on our value later on. It's still following me along the map. One thing you wanna do with the rain is test the running and jumping, but you're gonna wanna worry about that with the wind. By the way, you can start testing the wind based on what I showed you today already by just setting the scalar parameters for wind X and Y. I'm gonna hit my mouse button again now, and the rain stops. Gonna hit one more time. And we have a lot more rain this time. Hit it again, and it stops. I'm gonna test this. I'm gonna go walk up to these trees, and I'm going to see if it's colliding on part of the tree, not all of it. But that is because the tree doesn't have collision on certain parts. One of the fun things you can do when it's raining is use parts of the landscape to see if the landscape's actually blocking the rain or not. It does, by the way. Assuming you set everything up correctly. But again, you can see the splashes are working. You can see that we have a rain system that we can toggle on and off, that we can get different amounts of rain particles. And we will be making this feel a bit more natural and a bit more realistic as we add more into the system. So that really does take us through what we are going to want to do today. This, by the way, is going to be a very, very long chain of things to do. We actually have a lot of things set up for this that we have to do. In fact, actually, the rain itself is gonna have 2 nodes, and then we're gonna have our wind and lightning effects as well. Part of our lightning. The part that affects a character, like when you get struck by lightning, having damage done. The rest of the lightning system is actually going to be encapsulated within our weather system. Again, if you're having the issue like I am right now when the editor of the grass isn't showing, you can just recreate the landscape or by recreating the material, and it should respawn. But as you saw when I hit play, as I will do in just a moment for the outro of this video, the grass actually is working. Speaking of the outro, that takes us through everything we need to do. There, the grass spawns in. It does take a moment. And as always, this video has been brought to you by my Patreon sponsors. Sponsored by, wow. My Patreon sponsors such as Rian, Hanas, Connor, and 1Vault10. If you've enjoyed working on your rain system, make sure to hit that like button down below. And in the next video, we're going to start working on other parts of our weather system. In particular, we are going to work on our lightning. So if you want to be here when we create our lightning system, make sure to hit that subscribe and notify icon. And remember, we have a Discord community that you can join. Links in the bottom of the description of this video and on all videos. And if you want to support this channel, consider becoming a Patreon sponsor. Patreon sponsors at upper tiers get instant access to all ongoing YouTube projects. At other tiers, Patreon sponsors will get access once the project has been completed on YouTube. All of that said, I look forward to seeing you in the next tutorial, and I hope that you have a wonderful day.